Myself, Dr. Ashwini Sharma, welcome you all on the third day capacity building program on integration of pedagogy and technology in teaching learning. Now, yesterday proceedings were started by Dr. Pargat Singh Garcha, Principal, Khalsa College of Education, Guru Sar Sardar. He introduced Professor Sunil Dutt, Head Department of Education and Educational Management, NI, Triple T, Chandigarh. Professor Dutt spoke on the topic of blended learning and its importance in new education policy. Since traditional lecture is one-way method of communication and becoming irrelevant in present era, blending learning that is comprising 40% online and 60% offline will increase learning output by listening through lecture method. Students grasp not more than 20% of the contents, and blending learning requires physical presence of both teacher and students with some elements of students' control over time, place, and path. It gives more flexibility to customize their learning experiences and do not duplicate course contents in varying format. Flipped classroom is one model of blended learning where students first read at home and then discuss the doubts in classroom. So Dr. Dutt explained various models of blended learning, its importance, how to implement this mode of learning along with its drawback and challenges in future. Many participants involved in question answer session after lecture enthusiastically. In presidential remarks by Dr. K.M. Bandrakar, President CTEF and former principal of College of Education, Gonda, Maharashtra, appreciated the lecture contents of Dr. Dutt. He is also the view that blended learning is in need of the hour to improve the education standard as skilled learning, problem solving, creative learning can be possible only through blended mode. Traditional learning can't produce Nobel laureates, and he emphasized the status of teacher as per given in National Education Policy 1986. Then Dr. Deepika Jindal gave vote of thanks. Now today we are fortunate to have amongst us Dr. Jayanti Datta as guest speaker on topic appropriate assessment and evaluation practices. Dr. Jayanti Datta is faculty in Human Resource Development Center, Punjab University, Chandigarh. She is a biologist by training and has been one of the founder member of Department of Public Health in Punjab University. Her research area have been public health, higher education, faculty training, and science popularization. She has been the recipient of National Award for her film on tuberculosis conferred by the CSIR, New Delhi. She has an experience of working with more than 5,000 teachers and of mentoring more than 100 professional development programs. Welcome you, ma'am. Now I invite Professor Shailendra Kaur, Vice Principal and Coordinator, IQSC, to welcome our guest speaker. Over to Professor Shailendra.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. Resource person for the day, Dr. Jayanti Datta, Dr. Gurmeet Singh, Principal Dr. Khushwinder Kumar, and all the participants. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome on day 3 of the capacity building program on integration of pedagogy and technology in teaching and learning. The topic for the day is appropriate assessment and evaluation practices. In the contemporary gloomy and fear-stricken times, education has acquired a greater significance in having an ennobling and enlightening influence on the people. It intends to ensure the mental health of a people engulfed by an unprecedented health crisis. In addition, it has an unparalleled ability to adapt to a rapidly changing world. This is quite evident in our transformed education system, comprising blended learning, flipped learning, etc., in place of traditional classroom teaching and learning. This transformation has also been witnessed in assessment and evaluation practices. Assessment enables educators to generate numeric or graded information about their students, which helps them make effectual decisions about student learning and development. Evaluation and assessment mechanisms provide a basis for assessing how effectively education is being provided for students. The ultimate objective is to improve the quality of education and consequently raise student outcomes and to assess the extent to which the objectives of education are achieved. The evaluation and assessment framework deals with the systemic governance of the whole range of evaluation and assessment activities in a system, including strategies for the various components to complement each other and articulate coherently to achieve the given purpose. These two components of assessment and evaluation are extremely important for any higher education institute. We are fortunate to have a learned scholar, Dr. Jayanti Datta, amongst us, who is going to deliberate on appropriate assessment and evaluation practices. She is going to share her observations and suggestions on various techniques and strategies that educators can implement in the digital teaching learning process. I warmly welcome Dr. Datta and sincerely hope that our participants will gain tremendously from her valuable insights, and the session will be a fruitful as well as an enriching experience for all of us. Once again, I heartily welcome Dr. Jayanti Datta. Thank you so much. Over to Dr. Ashwini.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite our today's speaker, Dr. Jayanti Datta, for his lecture on the topic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashwini. Respected Dr. Khushvinder, Dr. Sidhu, and Dr. Ashwini Sharma, and all the dignitaries present here, well, and all the participants who are also there. I can see there is a huge number of participants. Let us see how effectively we can actually use this 1 hour that we have with us. So I would go on till 1 o'clock, and then we will have some questions. The topic of my discussion, as has been announced, is assessment and evaluation practices. Now, to tell you the truth, I would like to say very frankly that I have been into this now, working with teachers, training teachers, and going to all these kind of workshops and in webinars. But I have seen, this is for the first time, I think in a very long time, maybe in last 10 years I have been doing this. But in the last 10 years also I have seen that in any college or university, this is hardly the topic. We usually talk about teaching, we talk about pedagogy and other things, but we have never talked about assessment and evaluation. Now it's very strange that why we have ignored this topic for so long, and I was very happy actually when this topic was given to me, and I thought that at least somebody has recognized this theme to be very important for the teachers. So in my view, I would say that this is an important topic, though the time that we have, only 1 hour, is really very less for delving deep, for going deep into this topic. But the objectives of my session, the objectives that I have chosen for my session are, like, can I have my slide, please? Yes, I think Dr. Kuldeep is looking after the slides. Yes, first one. Yeah, first. Yeah, next one, please. Yes, next slide. Right. So these are the friends, these are the objectives of my presentation. As I said, 1 hour is a very small time to actually go deeper into this very significant and very vast topic of assessment and evaluation. But what I would like, what I have thought of is that I would like to inform you some things which maybe you already know, some of you may already know, and some of you, for some of you, it will be something new. I would like you to initiate into some good and new practices to stimulate your minds to think about these things about assessment and evaluation, to develop your interest into this and to motivate you. So I think in this 1 hour, if nothing else, we can get an initiation here. We get started here. And then if you are interested and if you think that it is important and it is significant to become a good become good in this aspect of teaching also, because assessment and evaluation is also part of teaching. It's not separate from teaching, but we have been looking at it in a very disintegrated way. So these are my objectives. Next, please. Okay. So as I said that this is an online platform and there are so many participants. So I don't know if we can have a really interactive session, but please stop me. You can stop me anytime. You can, we can keep all the communication channels open. You can write on the chat, you can speak, you can ask me questions. I don't know if you can just unmute yourself and ask questions. You can give feedback on the chat. Later on also you can give feedback. And if you have still some questions or something to discuss, then we can even speak on the, we can even communicate on the email. So you are free to change the direction, to steer the discussion or bring in anything that you have. And as I said, it is a touch and go. So I don't know if my presentation would cover all the things or not. Next slide, please. Okay. So my first question to you is, and maybe you can write the answer on the chat. When you thought of becoming a teacher, did this idea of setting questions, assessing, evaluating, checking answer sheets come to your mind? Because most of the time, when we are dreaming of becoming teachers, many of you might have chosen the profession of teaching. Many of you might have come to it by chance, but many of us have actually, right from our childhoods, harbored, or whenever we think of becoming a teacher, or even if you have seen that small children who emulate, even school children who emulate being a teacher, they stand up in front of the blackboard. They try to pretend that they are writing on the blackboard. That is how the image of teacher is in our eyes. But we have never thought, and it is not in our dreams, that teaching also involves hours and hours of checking answer sheets, of evaluating, of framing question papers, of having different kinds of assessment techniques. Now tell me, have you ever thought about it, that assessment and evaluation is also an integrated part of teaching? Have you thought about it? Okay, somebody says yes. Yeah, I would wait for 1 minute. Okay. Yes, you can write on the chat. Yes, right. Some people say no. So most of the time I have met people. Right. Okay. Oh, I find that many of you have all actually thought about it, which yeah, which is good. As yeah, when my mother checks paper, yeah, this is very interesting, because what happens is, because if we are brought up in a teaching household, if our parents are teachers, we also see this, that the parents are, many times the teacher parents are involved in checking answer sheets, and then they say don't disturb, and the children just try to give them some quiet time. So that is again an initiation into teaching. Right. Okay. So thank you if you have thought about it, that evaluation was an important part of teaching. And what I would say, that for me and many other teachers with whom I have spoken, I have found that they have not thought that this is a complete package. It is a complete package, that you cannot just teach in the classroom and get away with it. You also have to check whether what you have taught has been learned properly or not. You also have to You also have to check papers. You have to set question papers and check papers, which is again a very exhaustive as well a very intellectual activity. Yes, next please. Yeah, I would also see, and I don't know if you would agree with me or not, that assessment and evaluation have been neglected activities because we hardly pay any attention to these very important activities. There is no training as such. I found in one of the workshops which was done by the controller of examinations in our university, everybody was blaming the teachers, that the teachers frame bad questions, or they sometimes frame questions out of syllabus. They frame questions which are very confusing, and they do not have any idea of how to frame questions. So everybody was blaming, and that actually leads to a lot of confusion for the students, and ultimately there sometimes a re-examination has to be done, and there are a lot of issues with that. So people were blaming the teachers, that it's the mistake of the teachers. But I would say that the skill of assessment and evaluation does not come to you automatically. It's not something that one day you will have a divine revelation as soon as you get an appointment as a teacher, and suddenly you understand everything, all nuances of teaching, and then you start you also become very efficient and effective in assessment and evaluation techniques, practices, or skills, because these are important skills. These are actually technical skills, so we have to learn them, and we have to practice them, we have to cultivate them, then only then we become good in it. But in our whole career as teachers, there is no training for it. There are no discussions. Even I have never heard, as I said, that nobody has ever thought of doing workshops or doing on assessment and evaluation for teachers. There is no research in our indigenous way, no research on our local colleges, our regional colleges. What are the issues that we are facing in assessment evaluation? These are not there. There is no set time. We are not given any separate time. It is all to be done within the teaching time, within our 24 hours. And I have seen teachers, school teachers especially, who are so much burdened with the checking answer sheets, and all these things are there. So there we don't have are given special time that now, yes, this is the time we give to you. You don't have to do anything else. Now you do only assessment. Though we have this assessment in universities where all teachers come, and we have these table assessments, and there are hardly any standardizations. For this assessment and evaluation thing, there are different researches which tell you that we are very subjective in our assessment and evaluation. And for I would also like to tell you that there was this experiment in which one answer sheet was given to 10 different teachers, and they marked and gave marks from 35 to 70. One of the teachers gave 35 and another extreme was 70. And in between there were different marks. So you can understand that there is so much subjectivity in checking the answer sheets. So is there some kind of a standardization? And this evaluation, I'm not only talking of the evaluation of the answer sheets that is of the final year or the final examination, but also about like PhD thesis evaluations, dissertation evaluation. There are many kinds of evaluation that are there. So every time we see that there is no set standard. In India, we have not worked towards that kind of a standardization in which there is some kind of a unanimous agreement on what ways or through what protocols we will be evaluating things. And if there are any instructions, of course the university, when it sets the paper or when it gives you evaluation, it gives you some kind of instructions, but those instructions are very poorly written, and they are very bad instructions. They are not thoughtful, or they don't help you, or they don't facilitate you. These are my observations. You might differ from them, but these are largely, maybe one or two places there are some things, there are maybe some standardization, some protocols there, but not much. And this is what my experience has been. Also, you can see that in this pandemic time, what we have done with our evaluation. I think it is a sham. The whole evaluation that we are doing with our students, it is a very poor show. And I would say that it is a blot on the teacher community, that we have been so lazy that we could not find creative ideas for evaluation. And we have just given in. We have allowed students, and who would not cheat? Just if you ask me that if you allow me if you give me an opportunity to cheat, everybody would cheat, even I would cheat. Because that is what, because if everybody else is cheating and you are not able to check, then I also am afraid that maybe if I do not cheat and I do it properly, then maybe I'll get the lowest marks and all my class fellows will get better marks. So that kind of a dilemma is always there. And we as teachers, as thinkers, as academic intellectuals, we have done nothing to actually work on this very important aspect of assessment and evaluation and made it a kind of joke in this pandemic era. Next, please. So what I insist is that assessment and evaluation should become an integral part of the instructional process of the teaching process. And for that, the one thing that is needed is that teachers need to change their mindsets. It is one of the aspect is also of training of how we learn the technical aspect, because in B.Ed colleges or in where professional educational degrees are there, you are actually taught how to write a question, how to frame a question, how to evaluate, what are the ways to evaluate and assess. But most of the time, most of the teachers who have not gone through these kind of professional development, they have a very fixed mindset about evaluation. It is examination, and you have to just cross the examination. Why do you think we have this assessment and evaluation? Why do we assess and evaluate? Is it for grades? Is it for promotions? For testing knowledge? For screening out? Different examinations that you can see are actually have different objectives. All examinations do not have the same objective. For example, these examinations, which are the competitive examinations of JEE or NEET, these examinations are held so that people can be screened out, so that they just take, it is not, even if you pass the JEE examination, even if you pass the NEET examination, you will not get the seat, you will not get the entry or entrance. And that is what it is for. It is for screening out, keeping people away, out of the gate. Then we have for promotions. For example, you could see that this year the 10th board and the 12th board was not held, but still students were promoted. So that is a kind of portal through which people have to pass to give a certification, so that people get a certification when they go into the society. We would know that what they know or what they don't know. That kind of a certification is also there. Also, somebody said we want to test the knowledge. If we have taught the student, we also test their knowledge, whether really they know or they have learned what what we have taught, or just for grades, for giving them some kind of a number, a numerical, which would actually tell 90%, 95%, they would always go ahead, and people who get less, we just labeling through number. We have to think deeply. Why do we actually assess and evaluate? Next, please. Okay. So for people who have who are not into this much, let me. I think most of you must be knowing this. That no. Piche. Back. Yes. Isse piche. Yeah. Next. Yes. Thank you. So there is this difference between assessment and evaluation. Now, if you go into the whole college year or maybe the college semester, you would notice that there are midterm examinations and then there are the final examinations. I think in the annual system, it was very clearly defined that there was this mid-semester, mid-examinations, like September examinations that we used to call them. And then we have the final examinations of April, maybe April, May, or February, March, April, May. So these were the final examinations. These final examinations were called evaluations, which is the summative evaluations. That means that you sum up what the student has learned. This is the last attempt for the student to show what they have learned, and this is the assessment of learning. Whatever data we have collected about their learning, it is the time of the analysis of that data. And in comparison to this, the midterm examination, that is the September examination, is called the formative examination. This is the assessment for learning, and it is through this we collect the data about how the student is progressing, how his knowledge is increasing. And if you want to give one word to it, it is do over. That means in comparison to the evaluation, which is called the last attempt, the assessment means do over. There is a very interesting example here which I would like to share with you, and that is, let us say there are guests at your home and you want to serve them a dish, and you are cooking that dish in your kitchen. So when you cook the dish in your kitchen, you also taste it and you find out that whether the salt is right, the taste is all right, there is something, some garnishing it needs or not. That is called the formative assessment. When you cook and taste, this is the formative assessment. At that point of time, you can still make the cooking better. You can still add some kind of some new things, some salt or some other garnishing. But once it has been served, it has gone to the guest and the guest has taken it, partaken it, guest has eaten it and tasted it, then it is the final examination. After that, you cannot do anything. So the guest will tell you that whether it was a good taste, good dish or not. So this is the difference between assessment and evaluation, and this is the difference between formative and summative examination, summative assessment. I hope it is clear because the following discussion actually depends upon the clear understanding of these two terms. Next, please. Okay. Now you would say that as teachers, and especially as teachers in Indian classrooms, we have seen and we have most of the time felt that there is nothing much in our hand. What happens is that all the examinations are conducted by the boards or by the universities. The college has nothing to do with it. The syllabus is also prescribed by the university, and the question papers are created by the university, as framed by the university itself. The whole process it goes through, and the answer sheet evaluation is also there are different. For example, there are some processes in which the teachers themselves set the question paper, the teachers themselves are checking also and giving the whole evaluation is through the internal evaluation is there, and the teacher is itself, the teacher is teaching also and giving the evaluation also. And in more and more autonomy would actually come into it, as we would see that in the coming years it is expected that more autonomy would be there and the teachers would be expected to prescribe syllabus, to develop the content, teach also, frame questions and evaluate. The whole package would actually be done by the teachers when we get more autonomy. But presently, I think most of us who are in the colleges, we find that we don't have much to do in the final examinations, right? We can only teach the students well, and we can give them some tips on what are the important questions, and we can help them a little in facilitating their learning so that they attempt well in the final examinations. And when they pass with good numbers or when they get some kind of merit positions, it is a very honorable thing for the college, and they also flaunt that. But beyond that, we don't have much to do in the whole process of the final or the summative examination. Then what is in our hand? Why are we really actually doing this thing of assessment and evaluation if nothing we can do in the whole process? Though the summative examination or summative evaluation is not in our hands, but the formative evaluation is in our hands. And formative evaluation is very, very important in the whole process of teaching. Next, please. Research says that the formative assessment improves learning, and it's a very powerful weapon in the hand of the teacher. And through that you can bring about a lot of learning into the student. Because just teaching, or if I ask you what do you think is teaching, because that is a very basic question. If we want to talk about assessment and evaluation, then I would also like to say what is teaching. So I think you can put in the chat one or two things, one or two definitions of teaching, your own definitions of teaching. Yes, please. Would you like to write? Yes. Yeah, teaching is an art. Okay. Yeah, one or two so that I can take the thread and discuss from there. If you can just give me one or two, what do you, yeah, justice with 4 M's. Okay. Teaching is more than imparting knowledge, it's influencing, changing lives. Okay, right. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now the answer. Now it's coming. Yeah, MEN method, measurement and materials to assist student to learn the subject, to teach them moral values, etc. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that this interaction is taking place and everybody is actually giving me responses. Now, dear friends, whatever you do, I think if you are a teacher, the first thing that you must do is to have your own definition of teaching, because unless you have a definition of teaching, and that too your own definition, because of course if you go to the internet or if you go to the textbooks, you will find that there are many definitions of teaching have been given to us by educational thinkers, by philosophers, but that would not be useful for you. You have to find out your own definition, because only then you will actually do whatever you think is teaching. Then when you go to the classroom, you will be doing the same things. For example, when you say Anju Kalita has written that empowering students is teaching. So if she thinks like that, when she goes to the classroom, she will actually be empowering students, right? And if you say that giving knowledge, providing knowledge and skills is teaching, then when you go to the classroom, then you will be providing knowledge and skills. If somebody thinks that teaching is just cracking good jokes in the classroom, then they would go to the classroom and crack good jokes. So you must have a good definition of teaching. So now when we focusing on this definition of teaching, I would say that when a student comes to the first year into the college and gets out in the third year or fourth year, we find that that student is quite transformed, and transformed on many accounts. For example, the student has gained knowledge, the student has become more mature, his personality has changed, he has become more, I would say, thoughtful. He has acquired different kinds of skills. He can speak better, he can write better, he can think better, he can use some kind of equipments that are there. He can, the subject skills, he has acquired subject skills. So all these skills are there. Then so the student has transformed on the three educational domains of knowledge, skill and attitude. So this happens only because you have engaged with the student in the classroom and focused on these three aspects of knowledge, skill and attitude. Again, if you want to bring in this transformation, you have to check time and again whether the student is actually going on the right path or not, and then how to bring that change, how to make him come to the right path, or what, how do you help him to acquire that learning, acquire that transformation in the domain of knowledge, in the domain of skill and in the domain of attitude, to what is desired, the desired change, the what you want them to become, right? If you don't do it consciously, then they would become, of course they would get transformed, but not as it is desired by the society, by the teacher. So therefore we have this way. How do we do that? Now, in teaching, teaching is only that when you are trying to teach, but through this formative assessment, you are actually telling the student that how the student can become better and better in these three domains. Next slide, please. Right. So formative assessment, first of all, it gives feedback to the teacher and the student. I hope you understand all the tests that we take in the class, all the activities that are assessed in the class for the midterm or for the formative assessment, they all come under this formative assessment. It gives feedback. So when you do these kind of activities, then it gives feedback to the teacher and the student. It gives feedback to the teacher that whether the teacher is teaching rightly or not, or whether the class uh, uh, is actually acquiring that knowledge or the other kind of changes that the teacher is trying to bring, whether it is really happening or not. It gets feedback from the student also. It evaluates students' knowledge and the understanding of the key concepts. And then it gives, when the teacher gets the feedback, then it's the teaching process may be changed or modified. And it also tells us about the diverse needs of the learner. It is not necessary that when we teach, all the 40 students or all the 100 students in the class learn it the same way. So if they are learning in different ways, I also have to understand that what diversity I have to bring into my teaching so that all my learners are learning. So it becomes an inclusive learning. When you give, now what happens in our colleges or in our classrooms, we hardly give any kind of feedback to the students except the marks, except the grades. If you take a test or if you take a class test or any kind of evaluation, you just give them marks or you just give them grades, nothing else. But actually, in formative assessment, we should tell the student, we should tell the students how they can improve and how they can, first of all, the students can also self assess and we give them a constructive feedback and they can then adjust for their improvements. This formative assessment should be very frequent. It's not that there is mandated 2 class tests has to be taken, so only I will take 2 class tests. It is not like that. You can take very frequent tests. Every day also you can take tests. And then these should be seamlessly integrated with teaching. This is very important, that it is seamlessly integrated. For example, you know that there are learning objectives. When we go to the classroom, there are certain objectives in our mind that the students will be able to achieve after the class is over, after the student has attended the class. These learning objectives actually direct that how teaching will take place. It is linked to teaching, it is linked to instruction. And this instruction is again linked to assessment and evaluation and the final output of the student. So all these things, they stand on the foundation of each other, and they are very seamlessly means they are very integrated, very well integrated. There is no gap between them. There is no gap, and it is a loop. A loop means that it keeps on happening again and again. You teach, you take test, you tell the student your constructive feedback, the student improves, again you take test. Again you teach, again you take test, again the improvement. So this whole process of improving the student goes on. Now, many teachers would say that we don't have much time for this. How do we? We do only there. If it is mandatory to take 2 tests and submit the marks, then we do that only, because maybe it's a huge class, maybe you are, maybe you don't have time, or some people say that we have to teach and we cannot find our syllabus incomplete hota. So all these kind of things are there. But then that means that you are not actually teaching in the whole effectiveness, the wholeness of teaching is not there. Teaching is not only just giving knowledge to the student, and the burden of learning is on the student. कि student ने learn कर लिया तो कर लिया, exam दे के अच्छे number ले लिए तो ले लिए. It's none of the teacher's business. But I would say it is the teacher's business to understand that the student is actually learning and is on the right path of learning. Next, please. Now, which formative assessment methods do you use? Most of the time, I have seen that the teachers use class test. Abhi online में it's very easy to take objective Google form पे ले लिया. It's very समेटना भी आसान है. So these kind of things we are doing. So what kind of tests are you using? What kind of methods are you using? Are you using class test? Even in class tests, we give them small questions so that it's easy for to check also, right? We also have to see that अगर 100 बच्चों का class test लिया, then you have to check also, right? Next, please. Yeah, I would tell you that there are many ways, and you can actually modify these ways, to modify these methods into something which is not very much time consuming and which is very easy to do, easy to evaluate also, but it gives you something very accurate assessment of the students' learning. So I have written here around 12 methods. I don't know how many of you actually do these kind of things, but I would, one or two things I would like to elaborate on. Now, For example, first tell me, just a moment. Yeah, have you heard of these things, logs and journals? Yeah, I think if you are using them, if you are using logs and journals in your evaluation, that is very good, because this is something, it also, because students are also become bored. They also don't like it. That how do we, how the students have been taking these tests right from their schools. So they are also, they have also become bored by all kind of evaluation practices that we have, like objective type, multiple choice question type test, or the short answer type test, or even the matching or the fill in the blanks kind of thing. Are there some new ways in which things can be done? One of the things that I would like, and that you can use very well, is the logs and the journals. Now, what is a log? A log is something in which you record things, which documents things. Journals are also like diaries. So you can ask your students to start a log in which is called a learning log. For example, when we do our orientation programs for 4 weeks, we in some of the programs I have asked my participants to actually start a learning log. Now, what happens in a learning log? Learning log is not the PPTs of the resource person, or what you have, it is not the note down of what the resource person has said, but actually what you yourself have learned from it, how you have interpreted it, what are the things that you have learned, what are the takeaways from it, how are you going to implement it in the classroom. So I found that many of the students have every day they have to write this learning log, what they have learned. For example, they might learn something very non-traditional. Sometimes they say that we have learned that how the resource person is managing time. Sometimes they say that we have learned from a very bad resource persons that what are the things that we should not do in the classroom. So the learning comes from all different ways. It's not only the learning of the text or the learning of the content, but it's also more deeper understanding. So when you see those logs, then these learning logs, actually what we should do is that we should make the students reflect on what they have learned and to process that. If they do not process what they have learned, it is like you have brought so many ingredients, you have bought from the market, you have spent money, and you have got lots of ingredients, and you brought it in your kitchen. And then you prepare an elaborate meal out of it. But if you do not eat that meal, then it's not going to get into your system. It's not going to nourish you. It's not going to give you the nutrients. Similar is the case with our education, or how we study, how we learn. That if we are just not processing the learning, then the learning will not be internalized. It will not become a part of our system. And therefore, these kinds of logs and journals actually they help us, they help reflect the students, they have help them to brainstorm and then write about it. You can now you would say that how do we evaluate the logs and journals? There are many methods. Actually, I would suggest that this IQSC cell should have workshops on different assessment methods. You can have a workshop only on the assessment methods through logs and journals for one whole day or maybe 2 days. That would actually help you in acquiring the skills of using or the practices of good assessment methods. So we can evaluate them on, say, descriptive words, examples, originality, thoughtfulness, creativity, insights that the student shows in the log. And I have seen when I have given this activity to my teachers who were participants, and there were 40 people there, I found that you could actually see that which people have actually learned and who have just not learned and who were lazy and they have not put anything of substance into the learning log, and how they have only taken the surface and have not gone deep into it. So this method is very useful and you can use it. Students can also enjoy it You only have to motivate them a little. Then we have debates, and then another thing that I would like to bring onto is the graphic organizers. Actually, graphic organizers is nowadays very much in use, especially in schools. In schools, I think it is a very now in vogue. The activity is in vogue. Now, what is a graphic organizer? A graphic organizer is a visual tool. It is a mental map. For example, when you learn something or when you make when you make notes, you might have seen that some people do not write while making notes, rather, they make diagrams. They would say, if they have to, for example, learn about a war, then they would say, they would make a box and they would put all the causes of war. And then they would make another box and then they would write the year, or then another box. And these kind of diagrams, analysis of some kind of a flow chart, Venn diagrams, analysis of the story, movies, lectures, books, even speech, everything can be broken down into these kind of visual maps. So if you ask your students to create a visual map, a graphic organizer of something, of what you have taught, and see that how much more deeper understanding they have. Then I would also like to tell you about the this thing, performance method. In the performance method, though I think in colleges you must be using the presentations, etc., for performance, you can ask them to do some kind of a performance. It can be a group performance also, and it can be individual also. And for all these, you have to make the criteria. Now, when we do evaluation and assessment, it is not only enough to make a interesting activity, but another very important thing is how to evaluate that activity. So, for evaluation, for measuring how you will be grading that activity, there are some methods in which we can do it better. Next, please. Yeah, so these are checklists and rubrics. I will not go very deep into it. Don't be afraid of these words. These are not very difficult concepts. A rubric is a scoring guide. A rubric is actually a table. In that table, you give an evaluative criteria. For example, if I have to evaluate, I give an assessment of making of drawing an apple to a whole class. I have given an activity how to draw, to please draw an apple. So all the students have drawn one apple in their pages. So how do I, if I have to create a rubric, then I would say, first of all, I would say shape. And in front of that, I would write exactly shaped, exactly like an apple, I would give 10 marks. A round shape, I would give 5 marks. Not at all identifiable shape, I would give 0 marks, right? This kind, or then next I would say color. Color is very properly done like an apple. Second, color strokes are not very good. And then thirdly, the color strokes are not are very rough, so I would not give marks at all. These kind of criteria. The only thing is you have to be very transparent and open, and you have to let the students know beforehand what criteria you have decided. Similarly, there are checklists. In checklists, you can organize tasks into specific steps, and then the whole learning has to be actually chunked into, just a moment, please. Yes, please. So the whole chunk has to be broken into smaller segments. And then it is a list, and student has to check, okay, title given, name written, paragraph written, spellings checked. This kind of a checklist has to be there. Yes, next, please. Okay. Now remember your own assessment and evaluation in your college. I will give you 2 minutes to think about it. And I am also taking break so that I can drink water. And you please, for 2 minutes, think about the whole thing. मैंने उसको ये भी आज भी कहा था सर, मैंने उसको ये कहा कि आप ना ज्यादा लोगों की थोड़ी लिस्ट भेज दो, उसमें से सर अप्रूव कर लेंगे, आप ऐसे ना करना। मैंने कहा कि कम की भेज दी, बाद में फिर वो नहीं हुआ। तो वो आई टोल्ड हर वेरी क्लियरली कि टेक्निकल थिंग्स हैव टू बी डन। Yeah, thank you very much. So, so have you, do you remember your own assessment and evaluation in your college? Can you tell me about what experience did you have? Were you told constructively about what are the mistakes that you have done and then how you can improve upon it, or what is the skill that you should focus on? Have you done that? Have somebody done that to you in your college? And I get somebody to write on the chat. Yeah, hello, is the voice not audible?
मैम ऑडिबल है जो
Yeah, ठीक है। तो ये okay, if you even if you don't want to answer now, I would say just think about how our assessment has been done. Yeah, I remember that we would hardly, ये भी बहुत बाद में हुआ है कि now the thing that we have started showing the papers to the student. Earlier teachers had great reservation. They would not even show the answer sheets to the students, and they would just tell them कि इतने marks आए, इतने marks आए. How would the teacher know? How would they improve? So now this thing, that this rule has come up. I think, I don't know if it is in all the institutions, but most of the institutions are following that they have to show the answer sheets to their students so that the student can see that how they have been marked. But again, this showing, इस showing में ये नहीं होता है कि how the student has to improve. वो स्टूडेंट क्या करता है कि वो फिर ये बोलने लगता है कि मेरे को इसमें बढ़ा दो मेरा नंबर, उसमें बढ़ा दो मेरा नंबर, ये आपने कैसे मार्क किया, वो कैसे मार्क किया, right? But that is actually not the purpose of the paper showing. Paper showing means that the student and the teacher will sit together and some kind of a constructive feedback would be given to the student that these are the knowledge areas which you have to improve, these are the skill areas that we have to improve. Next, please. Yeah. So first, we have to change our mindset. Use assessments as source of information for both teachers and students. Just remember that examination is not only for grade, it is for grade, for promotion, for screening out, but it is also a very important source of information for both the teachers and the students. Follow assessment with high quality corrective instruction. असेसमेंट लेना खत्म नहीं होता, उसका नेक्स्ट स्टेप होता है हाई क्वालिटी करेक्टिव इंस्ट्रक्शन. दैट इज वेरी वेरी मच नीडेड. इफ यू आर नॉट डूइंग दैट, दैट मीन्स you are only doing half of the work. And then give students second chances to demonstrate success. Sometimes even you can allow them ki, the same thing you can again say that I will take another test and then see whether you have improved or not. So giving a test to the students, I think this is a very important part of the teaching. But again, giving a test is a creative method. And I don't know if all the teachers can become so much creative that the examination in itself becomes a very engaging activity. It becomes something very interesting that the student is ever eager to actually take the examination and find out that how he or she has improved, and think of assessment as the other side of teaching. Next, please. Now, what you can do next? What are the practical things that you can do? Yeah. Create a portfolio of good and useful assessment methods and strategies. If you have find out some good, if you have devised some good methods and strategies, then Then you make a portfolio. Portfolio means a file. Then you keep them in a file, you keep them in a digital file or keep them in a physical file, and then keep all your tests, methods, creative strategies, how or all kinds of ways through which you have assessed. It is very good that if you have a team of colleagues of the same department, if you are a sociology teacher, if you are a political science teacher or a physics teacher, get together with 2 or 3 colleagues, find out or brainstorm on what are the new methods in which you can and test the students, and it can become a very fun activity. It can become really interesting if you work with the with the colleague with your colleagues like this, right? And then yeah, next I think it is the slide बहुत आगे जाके है. Yeah, we were at slide number 18. Yeah, पीछे वाली slide जाइए. Yes. So have a team of colleagues to work with, and उनके साथ काम करके you can create these kind of contents, the good assessment and evaluation ways, methods and ways you can find out. Then have at least one session in the beginning of the year to train students into changing their perspective about exams. क्योंकि अगर आपने एग्जाम का perspective change कर लिया, but the student should also have to know. For example, when I teach my classes, I tell the students on the first day that examination is a byproduct. Examination and clearing your examination and getting passing in the examination or getting the certificate or getting the marks, it is only a byproduct. Our main aim is to learn the topic, learn the subject. And when you go into the world, actually the subject, what you have learned in your subject will help you. Marks is all right, but you need it to get in somewhere. But actually, it is the subject which is subject knowledge, the knowledge that you have, which would be needed. So I try to mold their minds into understanding that examination is important, but what is important is how we improve ourselves, how we step by step through small habit changes, we improve ourselves and grow into the discipline. There is a lot of information about formative assessment methods, about new assessment methods, and for different disciplines also. You can go to the net if you're really interested, you can read books and you can find, or you can approach the experts and you can train yourself very well if you are really interested in it. And use formative assessment a part of your daily teaching. I would say every day have a small test, some kind of a very small activity, and these can be done very creatively. And I have found that students actually start liking these challenges. If you give them this kind of thing, then they start liking these challenges, and you would see that spark would come into your teaching, that interest would come into your teaching. You would be able to engage your students in a better way. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a reference of a book which I have used. It's a very useful book. I think college libraries can take it. And I would say that you just remember that assessment is not secondary, but central to the education process. Because it is through this assessment that we learn to grow, that we actually grow. Right? Thank you very much, and happy teaching and happy evaluation to all, happy assessment and assessing and evaluating to all of you. You can contact me in this email that I have given to you, and you can also get it from the organizers. But I would request all of you to give me your feedback. Thank you very much. And now we can, if people have their questions, then we can start with that.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Now, session is open for your doubts or any question for the participants. So, you can type in a chat box.
Please don't write thank yous. I take it, I think Dr. Ashwini Sharma has already thanked me. There is no need to write the thank yous. If you have any question, look, if you really want to thank me, then ask a question. Give me a comment. Give me some feedback. That would be a real thank you. I have finished early. I have finished early, so because I thought that there would be questions. So please, this time is for discussion.
Yes, ma'am. There is a question in chat book. I think.
Yes, somebody is asking that is formative assessment possible in higher
Yes,
education?
higher education.
Yeah, I think this. No. What I am asking you is now the whole point of this presentation is that summative examination we have no control over. Summative examinations are the area of the university, so we cannot do much about it. The way they prescribe the syllabus, then the way the question paper is set or the format of the question paper, you don't have much to do with it. But what you can do is formative assessment every day you can take in the classroom. Every day when you take a test and when you tell your students about how to improve, that is a formative assessment. In addition to the mandatory ones, because there are certain mandatory tests also that you have to take. Classroom जो internal assessment के number हम लगाते हैं, वो number किसी चीज के ऊपर based होते हैं ना. Most of the time we take general tests तो हम classrooms में लेते हैं. But मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि every day or every week you can include formative assessment into your class.
There is a question, ma'am, from Professor Harjeet Singh that may grading replaced by practical efficiency test?
You are confusing the two things. Test is something different and grading is something different, right? ग्रेडिंग तो आप कई तरह से कर सकते हैं ना. ग्रेडिंग का मतलब है आपने ग्रेड करना है कि उसको आपने ABCD देने हैं नंबर, या आपने 100, 40, 80, 90 ऐसे देने हैं नंबर. दैट इज ग्रेडिंग. दैट इज यू हैव टू मेजर सम वे अगर आपने करना है. बट व्हाट यू आर आस्किंग इज अ मेथड कि ये जो आप उसको प्रैक्टिकल एफिशिएंसी टेस्ट ले लो आप उसका. फॉर एग्जांपल देयर आर सब्जेक्ट्स इन फिजिकल एजुकेशन or maybe in sciences, you have to use certain equipments, right? For example, अगर आपने in schools, I think we have in very basic classes कि आप thermometer use कर सकते हो. So how do you use a thermometer? Do you know how to use a thermometer? So the teacher can find out. ये एक practical efficiency test है. उस तरह से हर चीज का. I would also like to tell you a story, and I think this story most of you remember. You have already heard about it. There is this teacher who has taught his 4 students, और वो students का अब दीक्षांत हो रहा है. दीक्षांत हम बोलते हैं ना, कॉन्वोकेशन होता है. दीक्षांत मतलब दीक्षा का अंत हो गया है. They have studied, they have all got their दीक्षा, और अब वो अपना निकल रहे हैं वहां से. So the next day when they are going to the guru, they found that there is a big stone, there is a big rock in the midst of the street. है ना, रास्ते के बीच में एक बहुत बड़ा पत्थर सा रखा हुआ. तो एक स्टूडेंट जो होता है वो कहता है कि जी अब ये तो पत्थर आ गया, बीच में बाधा आ गई, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा. वो वापस चला जाता है. जो दूसरा स्टूडेंट आता है वो थोड़ा सा साइड से निकल के चला जाता है. जो तीसरा स्टूडेंट आता है वो कहता है कि नहीं, मुझे इसको बिल्कुल हटा के साइड पे, और फिर मैं तो जाऊंगा ही, और बाकी लोग भी जा सके, रास्ता क्लियर करना पड़ेगा. तो इस तरह से what does the teacher tells? The teacher tells that the studies of only one of the students has completed, लेकिन बाकी 2 students की अभी कंप्लीट हुई नहीं है स्टडी, क्योंकि हम सिर्फ पढ़ाई अपने लिए नहीं करते, हम समाज के लिए भी करते हैं. सो दिस इज अ वे इन विच द टीचर वाज एक्चुअली इवैल्यूएटिंग द स्टूडेंट्स कि जो कुछ मैंने इनको सिखाया वो क्या इनका सिखाना पूरा हो गया, सीख लिया कि नहीं. So we have to actually check that, and there are many beautiful ways in which you can find out.
Then, ma'am, there was one doubt that mindset should be changed according to the objective, whether it is grade, promotion, that how it can be changed, how we can change the mindset according to the objective.
Which objective? I have not understood the question.
You have told that mindset should be changed according to the objective, whether it is grade, promotion, testing knowledge, or screening out the candidates. How we
According to the यार ये तो मैंने देखी, जो जैसे कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम होते हैं उसमें तो जो 80-90% भी बच्चा अगर जेई में आता है ना, तो वो पास थोड़ी होता है. वो तो स्क्रीन आउट करने के लिए है ना. उसको चाहे 80-90% भी आ रहे हैं, लेकिन उसमें सिर्फ जाएंगे जो 98-99 वाले होंगे. तो वो उसका तो टेस्ट का यही ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि हमने बस बच्चों को बाहर निकाला, राइट. सिमिलरली जिसमें हमें उनको एक सर्टिफिकेशन देनी है, तो हम कह देते हैं कि जी 30% वाले फेल, 60% वाले फर्स्ट डिवीजन, ये वाले सेकंड डिवीजन, वो एक सर्टिफिकेशन, right? These are two ways in which test has to be seen. मेरा कहने का सिर्फ ये मतलब है कि अलग अलग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, सब एग्जाम्स एक जैसे नहीं होते, तो हमें पहले तो स्टूडेंट को यही समझाना चाहिए कि सर हर एक एग्जाम एक जैसा नहीं होता, जो फाइनल एग्जाम है उस पर तो तुम्हारे नंबर लगेंगे जो सर्टिफिकेट पे जाएगा, लेकिन उससे पहले ये जो सारा साल पढ़ा है, ये जो 6 महीने पढ़े, इन 6 महीने में क्यों ना जो हम टेस्ट को, एग्जाम्स को एक ऐसे टूल के रूप में देखें कि ये टूल मेरे को इम्प्रूव करने के लिए, मेरे को शार्प करने के लिए, मेरी नॉलेज को, मेरे स्किल को, मेरे एटीट्यूड को शार्प करने के लिए। तो ये माइंडसेट ऑफ चेंज, जो चेंज माइंडसेट है, वो टीचर्स का भी माइंडसेट चेंज होना चाहिए और स्टूडेंट्स का भी. Now there is a very interesting question here which asks that how we can conduct formative evaluation for large classes of 50 to 150 students. I think this is a very valid question, and I almost always face this question because in our Indian classrooms, we have huge classrooms, huge number of students. 150 to 150 students का जो अगर क्लास होती है, तो ये ज़्यादातर इंग्लिश में या कॉमर्स में, इस तरह के सब्जेक्ट्स में मैंने देखा है कि हमारी बड़ी क्लासेस. Actually, there are scientific methods of how you can deal with large classrooms, right? In foreign countries or even in India, in very forward universities, teacher अगर बड़ी class होती है तो उसको teaching assistant मिलते हैं, right? There are teaching assistants who are actually helping you. अगर आप उनकी टेस्ट लेते हो तो there are teaching assistant who will help you in evaluating. वो आपकी PPT बनाने में help करते हैं, evaluation में help करते हैं. But in India, we do not have that method. But what we can do is, look, first of all, technology is there. अभी हमने technology का बहुत use किया है. We can use technology, but in a creative way. वही मैं कह रही हूँ कि technology को हम कुछ और तरीकों से भी use कर सकते हैं. ये नहीं सिर्फ कि Google Form पे आपने question डाल दिया और उसको वापस समेट लिया और वो अपने आप ही आंसर, उसके नंबर लग गए और वो एकदम से क्लियर हो गया कि ऑब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट दे दिया. This is one way, but I would say this is not a very good way. There are methods technologically also, and secondly what you should do is आप इसमें group evaluations कर सकते हैं, और एक और इवैल्यूएशन जो पीयर इवैल्यूएशन होता है जिसमें कि स्टूडेंट्स आपस में एक दूसरे की इवैल्यूएशन करते हैं, वो कर सकते हैं. एंड देन इट कैन बी, जैसे एक ग्रुप में यू हैव टू एक्चुअली टेक द हेल्प ऑफ योर स्टूडेंट्स. दिस आई टेल यू बिकॉज एज आई सेड दैट अगर आपके पास टीचिंग असिस्टेंट नहीं है, यू कैन ट्रेन योर स्टूडेंट्स टू बिकम योर असिस्टेंट. सो देयर यू कैन डू दैट, right? This is not a very good answer that I have given to you, but I would only say that be creative in it. Nobody stops you from doing any, जो internal assessment होती है ना, वो कोई आपको ये नहीं कहेगा कि आपने कैसे ले, आपका अपना तरीका, आपका अपना कंट्रोल है उसके ऊपर. You can do anything. You have to keep record, that is all right. You have to document, वो रखना पड़ता है आपको, but otherwise you can find out new ways. और उसके अलावा भी आप हर दिन भी नई नई चीजें ले सकते हैं. Right. What you are asking, I think, who is GSG Khalsa College is asking that universities should make it mandatory. Now, look, friend, what I would like to say is, why don't you start from yourself? जो चीज अपने हाथ में है पहले वो तो कर लेना. हम यूनिवर्सिटीज को बोलेंगे, यूनिवर्सिटी कहेगी जी वो सीनेटर नहीं करते, सीनेटर कहेंगे यूजीसी लिख के दे पहले. सो दिस इज लॉन्ग ब्लेमिंग द अदर थिंग. आई वुड से आई वुड डू ओनली व्हाट आई कैन डू. वो मेरे हाथ में, आज ही से मैं अपनी फॉर्मेटिव असेसमेंट का तरीका चेंज कर सकती हूँ, मोर एंगेजिंग कर सकती हूँ, मोर क्रिएटिव कर सकती हूँ. सो आई विल डू दैट, राइट? दिस इज माय टेक, बिकॉज आई डोंट बिलीव इन दिस कि पहले यूनिवर्सिटी कर ले. इट वुड बी वेरी वेरी गुड इफ द यूनिवर्सिटी मेक्स इट मैंडेटरी, द यूनिवर्सिटी मेक्स इट क्रिएटिव इवैल्यूएशन हो जाए तो बहुत ही अच्छा हो जाएगा. यू कैन वर्क ऑन दैट ऑल्सो, बट उस जब तक वो ना हो जाए तब तक यू जस्ट डोंट स्टॉप योरसेल्फ. दिस इज माय सबमिशन. And then we have this one. Yeah, when people say, yeah, it is time consuming. Of course, formative assessment is time consuming, because if you really want to give them a good feedback, then you have to be engaged. आपको उसमें तो देखिए, I would say teaching तो time consuming है ही है. किसने कहा कि teaching time consuming नहीं है? जब हम ये कहते हैं कि 2 classes ली और मैं free हो गया, I think that is a great myth. And this is the thing that we do. Formative assessment is a thing that we do in our 24 hours. ये तो 24 घंटे की नौकरी है. ये सब हम जब करते हैं इसमें टाइम लगता है, ऑफ कोर्स. एज आई सेड, टेक्नोलॉजी से बहुत चीजें इजी हो गई, तो आप उसको थोड़ा यूज करना सीख लीजिए, या आपने यू फाइंड आउट न्यू मेथड्स थ्रू विच इट कैन बी डन. एंड इफ आई वुड से, अगर आप ये रूब्रिक्स बना लेते हैं, आप चेकलिस्ट बना देते हैं, आप स्कैफोल्डिंग्स बना लेते हैं, it would become, आपका बहुत काम आसान हो जाता है. जितना आप सोच रहे हैं ना कि बहुत टाइम लगेगा, उतना नहीं होगा, फिर ये बहुत काम आसान हो जाता है. राइट? Right. Is there some other question?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody says the teachers are overburdened with activities. I don't think that is, I don't agree with it actually. Yes, teachers are burdened because we have failed ourselves to tell the society what are the things that we do and how much time do we need for it. ये हमारे को बताना है कि हमारा जो टीचिंग जॉब है इट्स अ 24 आवर्स जॉब. I tell you this because all the time we are thinking about it. All the time we are immersed into it. And if you are not, then you are not a teacher. है ना, जो clerks या non teaching staff होता है या कोई भी even doctors, engineers, when they go back home 5 बजे के बाद वो घर चले जाते हैं अपना ऑफिस बंद कर, they don't think about their jobs. बट नॉट अ टीचर. अ टीचर इज ऑलवेज थिंकिंग अबाउट कि ये एग्जाम्पल मिल गया, अच्छा ये टीवी पे न्यूज आ रही है, ये मैं एग्जाम्पल दे सकता हूँ अपनी क्लास में. सो देयर ऑल द टाइम वी आर थिंकिंग अबाउट इट. द व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज, देखो 2-3 तरीके हैं इसको हैंडल करने के. एक तो ये है कि अपने कॉलेज में ग्रुप्स बना के हम कॉलीग्स के साथ जब काम करते हैं, अच्छी टीम वर्किंग होती है, तो उसमें फैसिलिटेशन कर लो, उसमें चीजों को फैसिलिटेट करने का तरीका कर लें. And then if we have good principals, good academic leaders, we can always focus on this thing. More facilitation of teaching, more ease of teaching. So we have to actually ease of business की बात हर जगह होती है. The Prime Minister always keeps on saying कि ease of business हो गया हमारे देश में. I would say where is the ease of teaching? We have to actually bring that ease of teaching also. ये कॉलेज में भी हमारे को जो एक्स्ट्रा काम दिए जाते हैं ना, इन चीजों को what we have to do, instead of doing it in a very traditional manner and slogging at them, we have to find out smart ways to do them. Smart technology, storing things, making I have seen कि ऑफिसेज में भी मैंने देखा कि इस तरह से लोग काम करते हैं कि जो एक बार काम कर लिया फिर अगला आदमी आता है वो दोबारा से वो शुरू से ही सारा काम करना पड़ता है उसको. But reinventing the wheel, it doesn't help anybody. If you have done something good, give it to your colleagues. आपने अच्छी चीज करी है, आप कोलीग के साथ शेयर कीजिए. आपको आपके कोलीग ने किया वो आपके साथ करेगा, आपका आधा काम हो जाता है. Even if you have to write a research paper, if you are in a team, I would say it's always easy to write a research paper, to write a book if you have 2 people with you. It lessens your burden. So have a good colleagueship. Teaching teaching is a very isolated profession and it's a very individualistic profession. But I would say it's also very community oriented. It's very community. अगर आप एक teaching community बनाते हैं, if you have a learning teaching community in your college, then I think everybody enjoys that thing. And that's why I always focus on colleagueship, good colleagueship. So that is very important. And that is, I think, the answer of the question that you have asked.
Okay, ma'am. There is a lot of appreciation from many delegates as your lecture was very crystal clear and your one answer covers so many questions. Thanks a lot, madam, for your very good and very informative lecture. So on the behalf of all my participants, I again thank you.